So it was announced in 2014 that Google has started the process on investigating a potential cancer-finding pill. It is a pill that contains nanoparticles and certain magnetic elements that when taken by a person and enters the bloodstream, these nanoparticles are able to kind of sniff out certain proteins that are within the bloodstream that tend to be potentially cancerous, and it'll attach these cells to these cancerous cells and will transmit the data back to a wearable sensor that the person is wearing, where the data can then be downloaded and read and interpreted by doctors. The point is to replace the modern and traditional method of cancer screenings, which is through just traditional blood work, and is not very accurate, and usually cancer being one of those things where once you discover it, it's usually pretty progressed, so the point is to try to create, if they can find it earlier, they can start treating it sooner, and that means less aggressive treatment methods and shorter recovery times. So in addition to using these pills to try to sniff out cancer cells, it's also being developed to try to detect other blood-borne diseases that may go unnoticed in the early stages by traditional blood work. It's also being developed so that it can try to determine people who might be running a high risk of a heart attack and be able to hopefully detect those problems before the heart attack is actually suffered. And that way people can get the treatment that they need. And what this approach is essentially trying to do is be a much more proactive approach to the healthcare as opposed to reactive, which much of what modern day medicine is more reactive. And with cancer and heart attacks, those are the things that are typically not known about until they've already happened or they're already occurring. So the goal of this project is to try to find these things before they happen, and the sooner you get it, the sooner the treatment can start, and the more likely that treatment will ultimately be successful. So one of the potential downsides to using a technology like this is these nanoparticles, because they're much smaller than regular sized particles. The smaller the particle, the more unstable and reactive they become. And because of this, they're more able to freely move throughout the bloodstream, but also able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier. And because of this, they are able to potentially cause an increase in free radicals that circulate throughout the bloodstream. And free radicals, can cause damage to the tissue, to the cells, but also can cause damage to the DNA itself. And so because of this, the researchers are predicting that this technology is at least a decade away from being able to be used on the open market, because they have to be able to make sure that these nanoparticles are stable and predictable. And, obviously there's always the potential for side effects, but it's something that they need to keep to an absolute minimum, especially if you're going to be giving these to people that already have potentially compromised immune systems. The potential for side effects is even greater. So because of this, the scientists are being extra careful as they should, and it could be a very long time before you see this on the open market. So as you can see, there's potential benefits to this technology, and also a lot of unanswered questions that still need to be figured out. It'll probably be quite a while, as with anything in the pharmaceutical organization. There's going to need to be a lot of trial and error and a lot of research done to make sure that it's actually safe for human consumption. And only time will tell whether or not this ultimately becomes a thing.